We're all a constant flow of energy that's dancing in and dancing outwardly. So, however you experience or interpret your emotions, you know, it's going to happen on a constant basis. So, you take anger, right? These things are what make me angry. But you will soon realize that it's not these things, it's just this form of energy matched with this form of energy, matched with this form of energy, and this form of energy. When they all come together, and it can happen very, very quickly, when they all come together, they're going to create something that makes me feel or react or makes my body respond to this level of constant flow of relationship of energy. And I need to call it something so I can know how to properly identify it when it comes. Otherwise, I'm not going to know what I'm experiencing. I know that I have an experience going on inside of me. This experience is a combination of energy that's in relationship with one another. Just like love is a relationship with energy and any other emotion. But I need to call it something so that I can recognize it and I can identify with it, right? So I'm going to call this flow of energy anger. And I'm going to call this flow of energy faith. And I'm going to call this flow of energy hope. Or I'm going to call it love. I'm going to call it peace. I'm going to call it withdrawal. I'm going to find some type of way to label it so I can make sense of it in my mind. However, without that label, without that identifying mark of this dance of energy, I don't know how to make sense of this reality. So you almost have to ask yourself, is there any type of emotion that is real that does not need to be labeled? Is there anything that is not outside of our perception? Well, I think that the spirit of this being, just by being what? Being nothing. Just that's the end of the sentence. Just being. You'll realize there is no light, dark, or good or bad to anything. There just is. You just are. That's it. You are in a state of being, and you are a flow of energy that's dancing these different emotions. You are a dance of emotions, whether it's happiness and there's sadness and there's anger, because nobody can have a constant dance of the same energy forever. And we get into this illusion of thinking that we can chase down and master the craft of infinite peace and infinite an infinite same consistency of one emotion, and we can't do that. You take even the people, those that are churchgoers, those that are in school and they're getting education, or those that are, always listening to meditation, things like that. You'll realize that nobody can ever master any of it. There's no mastery to any of it. I can be a churchgoer or a religious expert for many years, but religion is a constant. There's no point to where you say, I'm going to qualify your religious doctrine over 10 years. And as soon as you know everything that there is to know about the Bible, the Holy Quran, or what have you, then you're going to wake up and you're going to experience this constant state of the same energy forever. No, there's no mastery to it. That's why you continue to go to church, because there's always a dance of energy that is inconsistent in your mind that you need to have interpreted, and you need to have a different perspective on looking at it in your mind. You need somebody to help you filter through whatever it is that you're experiencing. But until that time, you need to make sense of it with some type of platform, like church or school or something. Otherwise, you're not going to be okay with the state of just being. You need to be able to have somebody to help you make sense of what's occurring around you. But there's no person out here that just has 100% peace every day, every second of their lives, and they feel nothing else, or they gotten to a point to where they understand anger and they understand their own emotions enough to where they can just select one emotion to experience for the rest of their lives because it makes them feel good. It doesn't work like that. Why? Because we do have egos, because we do have our filter of experiences, because we do have the illusion of self-control or the lack of control, or some of us try to control other people, and that makes us disingenuous, or that kind of makes us feel like we have a control over this energy and other people, and we don't. We're just trying to chase an illusion, which is not a reality. So whether you have self-control or not, these dances of energy, with you being a dance of energy, you can't control what flows inside you, but you can interpret and filter that and make sense of it based off of your own perspective, and then you can control what comes out of what flows inside of you, what have you. But you in yourself, or you are a flow of energy. So even if you're giving off peace, that's what you're giving off to someone else. So if you go around a person that's full of anger, they have the ability to interpret you as a peaceful person, somebody that can shift their energy, or a person that can reject your energy, just like how you can reject certain energies based off of how you interpret it, right? But interpretation can also be a label as well. You can look at somebody and you can interpret them as being peaceful, and they may not label themselves as being peaceful. You can label them as being angry, and that's your label for them. That's your interpretation that you're having towards them. That's your filter of experience for them, or what have you. But your label may not be a reality to them. They may not look at them themselves as the same way you view them. So when you're looking at somebody and you see light, they might not see that same light in themselves that you see in them. They might see darkness. When you see darkness, they might look at themselves as living a life of light, right? Or wisdom and knowledge, right? But you also have to realize that when it comes to lightness and darkness, there can be no one without the other. There can be no peace without anger, and there can be no anger without peace and happiness, or any of these emotions. Because if there's just one emotion, there would be nothing to compare it to. There would be no even conceptual knowledge of any other emotion there is out there if there was only one that we could truly experience, right? The same thing with lightness and darkness. You see, you need the darkness so that you can get the wisdom to attract yourself towards the light. Because if there is only darkness, you will never have anything to compare it to. If you had light and your life was nothing but light, 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 you will have nothing to compare it against and say, okay, I live the life of like light and I light up the darkness. But if there's no darkness, what are you lighting up? Or if you have this illuminance of things or whatnot, then what are you being compared to? If you're lighting up the room or what have you, you wouldn't even know that event is taking place, because you lighting up the room means that you have to acknowledge that there was a darkness there before, right? So those that give knowledge or give light or supply light to people's life or knowledge, you have to acknowledge that there is a lack of knowledge in the area where there is darkness, right? So you have to acknowledge both of them. They're two, ends of the spectrum, but they're polar. Like they both are needed. There's always wisdom in darkness. So when you experience anger, just know that there's wisdom there, wisdom to be found there. So don't run away from this darkness that you are experiencing, because just know that that darkness is going to drive you towards wisdom and light. And when you do experience light, just know that that's a temporary effect, meaning that all these things that got brought together for you to experience light, including darkness, it's a flow of energy that's only temporary. It's going to flow and it's going to flow outward. It's going to flow in, it's going to flow out. It's going to flow in and flow out, just like anger and everything. Everything has an impermanence to it. Nothing is a constant state of energy that just stays in its place. Remember, energy is not created or destroyed, it's only transferred. So everybody's just doing this, everybody's just dancing around each other. And you're never going to just experience one thing, because there's always going to be other things to experience. It's all about your interpretation of those experiences and your perception of them, if that makes sense.